Hey friends, how's it going? This is Zeb from Zeb Outdoors and I hope you're having an awesome day. So today I am in the historic city of Canterbury in the county of Kent in the southeast of England to return to see a dear friend of mine, Jill Swan. Jill, how are you doing?
Hello Zed, lovely to see you. Dom.
You too as well. So if you're not familiar, if you haven't been following my channel for a long time, then you would have known that Jill is actually, you're the first spoon carver I ever covered.
Yeah.
On my channel, all my years ago.
How many years ago?
Gosh.
Years.
It has been years, probably what, 5 years? 5, 6 years?
At least, yeah.
Yeah. And Jill was also my first ever teacher as well, you know, so Jill, since then we've become dear friends of mine, come down to see on a regular basis, we always keep in touch, and all these years now returning to see your good self. Now in this video what we're going to be doing is Jill is very kindly going to be demonstrating how to carve a bark spoon. Now if you're unfamiliar what that is, have no fear, we're actually going to look at a few examples just so you have an idea of what it is we're going to be trying to achieve in this particular video. Now one thing I will stress is we were due to film in a woodland that Jill actually owns, but good old British weather.
Yeah, absolutely.
Good old British weather. It's raining quite heavily today, very strong winds as well. But we did have a plan B in place, which is where we're at now. And this is Jill's workshop at her house here in Canterbury. So what we're going to be doing in this video is the following. We're first going to have a look at a few examples of bark effect spoons that Jill has carved previously. And we're then going to go into the entire process for how you can carve one yourself. Now, the kind of idea with this particular video is it's going to sound weird of me to say this, but it's not so much about the spoon, but it's about how you get an effect of using the bark on a piece of wood, depending on what style of spoon you're going to carve. So in this video, Jill's going to be carving a very standard eating spoon, but the focus is not so much on the spoon itself. It's more about the technique involved in terms of how you get the bark on a wood, which is usually taken completely off when carving spoons, but how you actually leave it on the handle component of the spoon to then obviously have a finished spoon which has that effect. So in this video we're going to be looking more about the technique, because there are a lot of nuances around it that even I don't know, you know, that I'm going to be learning for myself. I have a basic idea of kind of how it's done, but there are nuances even off camera. We were speaking as we're kind of preparing for the filming beginning right now, and even I was like, oh okay, I wasn't aware of X, Y and Z. So just to recap, in this video we're going to be looking more about the technique itself, okay, as well as obviously ending up with a finished spoon. So like I said, the first thing we're going to do now is look at a few examples of bark spoons that are completed, and then we're going to get on with the rest of the process. Two extra things to mention before we begin. Number one, there is a timestamp below at the bottom of this video if you scroll across, and that is broken off the different sections of this video. So as you move forward and use this video as a reference material, then obviously you can skip forward to those parts of the video. And also the timeline is also included in the description below this video as well. And secondly, without further to mention, which I will also mention at the end, I'm going to put a link to all of Jill's website and social media. You can find out a lot more about kind of what she's doing, but what she's also going to do as well, she's going to have some detailed pictures of the bark spoon so you can see them a little bit close about the effects and kind of what's going on if you're not able to pick up on it in a lot of detail on this video. So Jill, with your kind permission, I think we'll get started.
Yeah, let's do it.
So guys, I hope you enjoy the rest of this video where Jill Swan is going to be teaching you how to carve a bark spoon. So Jill, for those that may not be familiar, what is a bark spoon?
It's a spoon where the bark has been left on, generally speaking on the handle, and this is a bit more difficult to achieve than you might first think, because for instance a spoon cut in the summer will have a lot more sap rising generally inside it, and the sap rises up in between the bark and the body of the tree, the bark and the actual wood. So it'll make this come off a lot easier because of the moisture in the wood. So generally speaking, this is the right season for making bark spoons, because you can still have the wood green but the bark has a greater chance of staying on. They are a little bit more fragile than an ordinary wooden spoon, and they take a little bit of a different process to make, because they are, you have to think about the handle first really, rather than the shape of the bowl, and you have to make sure that you choose a piece of wood that's got a nice flat piece of, well, not necessarily flat, I mean this hawthorn one here, this has got very rough bark on it, but yeah, the bark is going to stay on, and therefore it needs to be carefully cut round so that you don't inadvertently just chop it off.
So you've got a few examples here. Would you kind enough to talk us through in terms of what we got here?
Yeah. Well, these 4 are birch. I think this one, I don't quite know why this one's so shiny. I think I put maybe an extra coat of tung oil on it to get it to shine like that, in the hope of stopping that coming off. But these are all cut from sort of a medium-aged birch, and this I can't actually remember. I made this in Israel, so it'll be some Israeli tree. This is snake bark maple, which is an extraordinary piece of wood. I had to leave the bark on that because I've never seen anything like it. It's so green, and amazingly it's kept its colour. You would have thought, I made this last year, and you would have thought that colour would have just faded to brown, but snake bark maple is what that is, and that, yeah, the bark's held on well. It's just lifting off at the top there, look, but it's very hard now. You can't bend that. So yeah, there's that one, and this one again. I think this is probably a young, I don't know, a bit of birch maybe, and that's wrinkled slightly, but it's still held on well. And you wouldn't want to eat with this. This is just for, you know, spices or something, a little spice spoon. But as long as they don't float around in the washing up bowl for too long, they should last you as long as an ordinary spoon. This one, that's birch. I'm sure that's birch. Just quite a rough piece of birch. And I've got a piece of birch here, so you can see. Actually, just pulled it out of the fire because I thought it would be quite a good example. But you could see how you would have to plan your spoon here, and to come down. This would all come off and go in. So there's not really a good spot on this with all these inclusions and bobbles growing on this. You know, finding where the handle's going to come down and retain the wood is quite a problem. So it's the piece of wood you find. I mean, you could probably fit one in there, in that portion. So you'd have to split it half that way, half that way, to get that going, like that.
So Jill, we're going to look at obviously sourcing suitable wood.
Yeah, you need to find something that's already got a curve, an elbow, basically, in it before you start. So the wood you're looking for is not completely ramrod straight. I've got a piece of wood that's say we were going to make a little spoon out of this. It's just a little piece of birch. This is completely flat on the top. So I would have to cut the bowl down like this. So that's the handle, the top of the handle, and I would then have to cut the bowl down like this, and that would still be that sort of thing, right? Whereas something that's a bit more aesthetically pleasing would, if it had a curve in it, like so, you'd be able to get the bowl in and make a more aesthetically pleasing area here. So the bark would be on right the way down to here, and then you've got a nicer angle. It's aesthetic. Some people can come along, if you only have a straight piece, you come along, the handle is with the bark on, the neck comes down, and the bowl is straight here, like that. That's one way of doing it, but I kind of like that aesthetic of the handle running right the way into the base of the bowl. So there's 3 ways of looking at it, but you need to think about the bark area first. You need to preserve that as you start carving, rather than knocking it into a blank and then worrying about it. You know, so easy to clean the whole bowl off, clean the whole blank off, take all the bark off it so you can see what you're doing. You're actually working the other way around. So it's just a different way of looking at it. So that's straight. What would be better would be this piece. You see, this piece only got a very slight curve in it, but that would make all the difference, because this would be the handle part, and then I can put the bowl in here, and the tip of the bowl would be coming up again if I could squeeze the spoon in along there, so along here, and then the bowl comes down. So when it's lying down and finished, it's got that nice upwardly pointing tip of the bowl. There's another little piece here, and this is tiny, but it's got lovely bark. This is a young birch, which is orange before it goes white. So that's it young, and this is it old. Same tree or same species, and you could make a really lovely little spoon out of this, with the bark running all the way down here, and then get a lovely cheeky bowl in at the end. So this would be a small Knickerbocker Glory spoon or something.
Gosh, I haven't had that in years.
Showing me age now. So I do like a nice Knickerbocker Glory. Yeah, so that we might work on this one to see if we can get that, because it's such a great orange bark, and of course it keeps its colour amazingly. If you look underneath, it's green. So you've got that other worry, is that do you peel the outer bark off? It's so thin, the bark. This is paper bark, so this is just been peeled off a tree, and you see what you're dealing with. You're dealing with a very light layer with the birch. And some barks are heavy and virtually indestructible, but you know, finding the right tree. This is all one layer of bark. This is a little paper bark birch, and they're meant to peel, you know. I think you could probably wash this. If you scrub this in the sink, you could probably get the algae off, or the mould off it, and bring it up shiny. But yeah, so we'll try either this piece or this piece, I think.
So just to recap then, so to keep the integrity of the bark, you want to find a kind of basically a natural shape in the wood itself.
Yeah, if you could find a little, what's that, concave curve, what's going to be on the top of the bowl, so that there's the bowl will go in here, and this is the back of the spoon, and that's the front, and this is the front of the spoon. Then we use that piece of bark, hopefully, to make the handle.
And what you touched on just earlier, you want to be sourcing the wood in the winter time, is that correct?
Yeah. Apparently, winter grown, and I think certainly makes sense. Winter grown trees, the sap stops rising in the winter when the leaves are off, and the bark will stay on. It's a very different creature. You know, if you cut one of these birch trees in the spring, if you cut one down, the stump will actually flow. The water will be pouring out of it. And in the winter, it's a very different state of affairs, and the bark has a much greater chance of staying on because it's stuck to the wood. Whereas in the summer, the amount of water flowing through the wood can make the bark just slip off. The whole thing just slides off.
And the last question is the types of wood. Can you play around with the usual woods that you carve? Or?
Yeah, you can try any wood. I mean, but birch is popular for this sort of thing because it's pretty, it's white, it's striking when you see it. But any wood, we've got walnut down there. I mean, it's a rough piece of bark. And there's some bay tree down there as well. Very, very different types of bark, but they will all work. They will all work. You can keep the knot on if you want. Anything, you know. It's just a matter of selecting the angle and finding a piece that's at the right, you know, Just be able to see the spoon in the wood. If you can imagine the spoon already in the wood before you start, then that's a great leap forward. Okay, so I'm just going to split this in half along the pith and along the curve. So I'm taking this horizontally through the centre of the wood. Hopefully, you can never tell. I broke my mallet this morning, so this is a temporary effect.
I was about to say that's serious.
It's pretty good. I need to make the handle a little bit narrower, but it's doing the trick. So this piece is no good because the bark's on the wrong side. So that can go in the log pile, and this is the piece that we're going to concentrate on. So I have to decide where I'm going to put the bowl, and I have to mark that, but we don't want to draw over it with the felt pen, obviously, because we're going to be leaving the bark on. So it's one of those slightly tricky decisions. I can trim that off, that's for sure, and I can trim this off. And I think the way this is going, this is going to be the handle, and the reason for that decision is there's a little inclusion at the tip here. And these inclusions may not look like anything when you're looking at a piece of wood. You know, it's perfectly smooth there, really. But you don't know what is happening behind that. And if I put the bowl in this end of the spoon, I'm going to have to deal with that. And I have an example of what that could be like. This is a piece of pine, and this is a little knot that went into it, and you can see the stresses and strains. It's like water flowing round a rock. You know, the grain comes out and cuts back in again afterwards. And if you were trying to cut a bowl at this end of the wood, you'd be struggling. It makes life an awful lot more difficult than it could be. I'm not saying it's impossible. I'm saying if you want to avoid it and save a bit of time, then avoid knots at all costs, and that's what that is. So that's the reason for my decision. Okay, so bowl at this end. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to chop a bit of shape off here.
What axe are you using?
This is a Grand's Force. It's a longer handled one. It's the same head as the Cubbon. I think all mine are made by the same person whose initials are there, MM. I don't know, I think it's Magnus somebody. Probably Magnus Magnuson, but no relation, you know. And then we'll take the other side off there, just so we get roughly down to what we're going to be a little bit more off. See, the shape of the handle is being determined now, even at this very early stage. I've got to make a lot of decisions over what I'm leaving on there. The bowl is going to be here, so what I'll do is I'll cut the bowl in like that, so we can see where we're going to be going, and I'm going to trim it back as well. So we've got like an end here. It may be a bit long, it may be a little bit long, but like you said, Zed, we're not worrying about the actual design of the spoon. What we're worrying about is how to keep the bark on, like this. Yeah, that's, yeah. So there. Just gently down here. This is always a risky shot to take. If I go too far, I hit the bowl like that, which I don't want to do. Another way of avoiding that, of course, is to lay the spoon that way. and come down with it like this. Right, I need to come in some more. This needs to come into here, so it's a little bit narrower. So I'm going to do the same again. Come down like that. Hold it on the edge. A little bit more off. Bump cut. Just to take it down like that. So you can see the principle of how this is going to go. We've got quite a good, you know, that's going to come to there, and then we've just got to deal with this. So the back of the bowl now can come up. Try and get that nice and flat. Get it a bit narrower. A bit narrower. That's reasonable. And the sides, I might go to the knife. I know this is really early to go to the knife, but I might go to the knife for that bit of it's got a bit of a twist along the back here, so I'm going to try and fix that and make this, get the shape. I'm going to concentrate on getting the shape of the handle right. That's it. So there you can see that inclusion. What a, you know, that's going to be a pain. So what we'll do is get a little saw and just make it a bit shorter, and there's plenty of room there anyway to make it shorter. I'm going to come back here. It's pretty vital to have a sharp axe, so that you don't get that kind of fluffy end, that fluffy cut on the bark. Like that, a tiny bit more off there. A bit more there. I could probably just do that easy with a knife now. Now I've got to think about shaping. I've got to think about shaping the handle better than that. So I've got a soft pencil. So say this is the centre of the spoon. So if I mark it roughly like that, and I can't draw on the spoon, but I can draw on the wood. So I can't draw on the bark, but I can draw on the wood roughly where I want the halfway point to be. So this is reasonably level here. I would like the spoon to be narrower here, as all good spoons should be like this. And I may put a saw cut in across here, because it's a bit touch and go, and I like putting a saw cut in because it gives you a little bit of accuracy. It's always a good thing to have, and I can use my patent. It's not my patent actually, it's somebody else's. It's an ancient old thing, and it's a great way of holding a spoon still.
So you've got two holes going through the centre.
Yeah, that's the worst bit really, is drilling the holes. You need a long, obviously this is not so long, but you need to drill down, and then you need to have a groove cut here, which I just put the tip of the chainsaw in along there, so that the rope sits below the axe. You know, when you're chopping with the axe, you have to be careful that you don't sever the rope. As you can see, there's all these knots in this rope where I've chopped through it. But that's just about on the floor now, and when you lift up, it's just off the floor, so you can just give it a little bit of weight and it just helps with sawing. So I'm going to put my glasses on and just take my time here. Yeah, I want to come in here, and I want to come in there to the same sort of point like that. And it's worth keeping all this horizontal. You don't want to saw like this, obviously, because you'll saw too far. You don't want to saw like that. You want to keep it nice and level. This is a little Japanese pool saw. It's the ones I always use. I did use them before, and I still use them because they're great. Actually, they're not expensive, and they slip in your pocket, and they're readily available. But I don't know what make they are, because my Japanese ones are great. But they sell them at. Can we advertise?
We can advertise.
They sell them at Axminster Tools, and I think they're just called small pruning saw or small pocket saw. That's probably far enough. That's far enough. Then I'm going to go to a smaller axe, which is again, this is my little Gransfors for doing little cuts, and that's made by AS. So I don't know who that is either. I should know the names, but I'm very poor with names, so forgive me AS for not knowing your full name. So we're going to come in here, and remember, I've got to preserve this bark, so it's a kind of very ginger approach I'm going to make. I'm bending the axe out. There it goes. Trying to chase down that pencil line. There, I want it there. And then just that should just pull off. There it goes. Might need a little bit more of a tap there. So we're down to it there. And then this side, you're going to have to see that from the back. So I'm concentrating on keeping perpendicular. And by bending out like that, you make it easier for the axe to slip into the same spot. You make like a groove, a V that catches the axe as you come down. And that's that little bit off. It needs a little bit more. It needs to come in a little bit more. There it is. Just make sure that that's right to the till that saw cut is gone. That one there. And then I can do this. I can shape this side like that. Oh, steady. And here, a little bit more difficult because it's, I need a right-handed person to do this side for me. But that's what you can do when your axe is sharp, is you can just push it down to cut these little bits out. And then I've got, spin this block round, I've made a little notch in the block, which is quite handy for just holding something steady. There, so that's, yeah, probably we can just do the rest with a knife. I might draw a bowl in, but the bark will come off the bowl. It is very little point in leaving the bark on. I wouldn't consider it, that's going to always get bashed if you left it on. I've seen people do it, but it still comes off very easily, even this winter cut, stuff. This was cut yesterday, this. I went down and got it. Went down the wood. Got it out the wood. Okay, so I'm going to trim this piece off because of that inclusion. I can't really see a way out. So I'm just going to take it off straight across there. Get it to the edge. And that also gives us a cleaner end to mess about with. So the next thing I'm going to worry about is clearing up these. There's a few axe marks here, you can see. I want to clean those up. I want to get this bowl thought about carefully, where the transition's going to come from the neck, whether it's going to be there, so which would make it that kind of shape. And then how to end. This is the trouble with carving live, is you don't really think about what you're doing too much. And then maybe give it like a shovel. A shovel, that's always a good thing, isn't it? Mm-hmm. You like a shovel, don't you, Zed?
I do.
A breakfast shovel for shoveling in that kefir. And then, so we're gonna, we can stick with that like that. And I'm just gonna go straight to the knife. And you could probably do this with an axe as well, but this wood is so fresh that it's cutting like butter, really. And I could even cut it up the wrong way.
What knife are you using?
This is a Westerman that I handled myself. It's my old Faithful, actually. Not the best sharpening job. I got my mate Werner reprofiled it for me last time because I bullnosed it. Learning to sharpen is such a task, but I kind of kept it in the fantastic condition that he got it into for me. But it's my favourite. It is my favourite knife. Although I do recommend the Moras, the 106. I still recommend that. It's a great knife, the 106. And the thing is that for the price of them, if you wreck it, you haven't ruined. If you drop it or chip the blade or do something awful, you can just have a go at sharpening it or buy yourself another one. They're under £20-ish. I would, average. So this has got to come down like this. And these little marks, these are just inclusions. I don't think they're anything to worry about, these little marks like this. As long as the pith is gone, and the pith was, here somewhere. That's all the pith is out. You have got to get rid of the pith. The very centre, in the centre of the circles, that has got to go. Because it's often, I won't say always, it's often the case that if your spoon is going to split down the middle, then it's because it's been a bit close to the pith, or so on and so forth. But the pith is best got rid of. Now that's a little bit narrower, that's got to come down like this. So maybe that will go that bit. Oh, it's still there. I find it difficult not to chase little bits like that and just carve a big hole into the spoon because I want to get rid of some little inclusion. That's okay. So that will be, I'm going to keep just outside this this pencil. I'll keep just outside this pencil mark on that side. So this side I've got to work upside down. So I'm going to have another go at getting rid of this. Yeah, that's... There, so that's coming That's getting closer to my pencil line. And again, some woods, you know, are very unforgiving, and if you try and carve them against the grain, you must make a mess. It goes all kind of fluffy. But this is not quite so. This is not quite so awkward, although it's starting to go now. I hope that's not going to be anything to worry about. Okay, so I'm going to curve it down like this. Curve it this way. Just trying to smooth out some of the slightly clumsier angles left by the axe, and just try and make all these little cuts kind of the same size, so that you get a nice finish. I used to sand. I think everybody, when they start, they sand, because you know, the sanded spoons do feel lovely. But as your knife skills improved, the knife, the mark left by the knife is even nicer. So we've got that really thin now. See, that's got a good tip. So I'm gonna cut in this way. And just, you know, just do it slowly. Take off a little bit at each time. And I don't want to come this way, because this can often split down. If you cut this way, you can ruin it quite a lot. So I'm going to gingerly move towards that edge, and then here, use the ugly axe and just cut through. And getting this straight, I'd line it up across there to see if it's roughly the same. It's very wet and soft, this wood, so it's not cutting. And this is not a problem. Again, this is just another little piece of colour, so that's not a split or anything. Right, on the back here, I want to cut this in like that. Come down this way to meet it down here. I'm going to angle this in at the back. I think I'm going to make it, I mean, it's not even, obviously, but, you know, I'm going to make it like this sort of shape, so that we've got a roughly ergonomic, that's what I'm going to go for. Use a long word to cover up for the wibbly wobbliness of it all. I mean, I like wobbly spoons anyway, because wood is wobbly. Green wood is, by nature, wibbly wobbly. If I wanted straight spoons, I'd go to the shop and buy one that's been made by machine. Beech has some really lovely shapes in it. In the smaller branches, you get some really fantastic curves in beech, and hornbeam, which is a sort of lesser known wood, really. Hornbeam means hard wood, and it's what mill wheels and pit props and things were made out of. It's a fabulous little tree, and the bark looks sort of sinuous. It doesn't look dissimilar to beech, but it's a much harder wood. They make a nice bent spoon, because you get lots of You get lots of things. Now, just to think about this handle, you can, if your knife is sharp enough, you can cut in a border along it like that. I'm just, see how I'm keeping my fingers back. So you can see that, you know, that's less, that has less chance of lifting up than this. This could catch quite easily. You could lose that edge, so. There. So you've got like a, you know, it makes a little natural border there. I'm just going to trim that up. That can come off there. And take that back, take that straight. Yeah, it's very, very, very wet, this wood. But as we'll be able to get, we won't be able to get everything done on it with this wet. You need to leave it for 24 hours. But we can certainly get away with using the tip of the knife there to turn that bend, which is what the tip of the knife is for, and coming to meet it the other way. And it's very small cuts. Of course, as the wood dries, this sort of thing becomes a lot easier to deal with. So that would, this will just come off as it dries. These little bits will just disappear of their own accord. Here. Just trying to tidy up this little edge here. So this comes in a bit like this actually, to match it up to that side. That sort of thing. So what does that look like? Might be alright. I want to make it, I'm not happy with the side, with this side view, so I'd like to make it like that more. So this, instead of, I think the bend is too, so here, like that. So it's more, so I'll do that from this angle. So just making sure that I don't, you haven't got to worry about it in the middle, but you worry about it at the edges, because obviously the hook knife will take out all the middle bits. So you can angle your knife to just concentrate on the shape that you want. Like that. Yeah, that's more nicer. And again, just try and smooth this out a bit. I mean, this process normally takes me ages actually. I've got slower, I've got to say, as I've got older. I enjoy it. It's a meditation for me now. I'm not trying to, it's not a competition, you know, I just really enjoy making them. And the different, you know, everyone is like, I've never seen it before. I always feel like everyone is a fresh challenge. And that's what I find so relaxing about it, is that I suppose it's like doing anything, isn't it? You generally get better and better, but unless you work at it consistently for years on end, it's never gonna. I don't know. Some people do production carving. I'm always full of admiration for them. So I've got this curve here. It's got to match with that curve there, so I need to come in like this. So just trying to keep it symmetrical. Right, so I've trimmed this up as much as I'm going to. It'll need some finishing cuts when it's dry, but I'm going to start on the bowl now with the old scorp. I've painted the blunt side of the scorp with some just nail varnish, because I teach with these, and I don't want someone to put their thumb on that side by mistake. And you can see that it's sometimes easy to not look properly at which way you're going, although the handles are curved so that you can tell which way up it is. This is, you know, the business end, and that's the safe side. So it's very ergonomic, fits very beautifully. Lee Stoffer makes these from Covert Craft, using a blade made by Nick Westerman. Right, so what I'm going to do is just take a series of little scoops out across the grain, coming straight across the grain to the end, and then start again at this end. And this way you get a slightly wider scoop each time. You can see how soft this birch is, also how sharp this knife is. I'm trying to keep my thumb not here but here, but I'm ready to move my thumb very quickly if it slips like that. And just keep on plodding on with it like this. That's probably a bit too much, bridge too far. Just a small bit each time. Until we get most of the bowl gone quite rapidly. And I'm pressing down and into the bowl, but I'm also turning my hand quite a lot. My wrist is twisting to give it a flick out at this end, so I'm not just plunging the thing in, the scorp into the wood. It's about taking, you know, small pieces, the small little shavings, nothing enormous. You can also hold it like this. So, I mean, I'm left-handed, so all you right-handers will just have to look in the mirror, pretend you're looking in the mirror, and come this way. So I'm guiding the scorp like that. I might try going this way actually. Yeah, that's better. That's working much nicer that way. So there are several different options of holding this tool. I'm just going to do a bit more work in this corner where I've kind of neglected it. And just bring it very gently up to the pencil line without going over, if you can avoid it, because you've got to remember, these are just the preliminary cuts. I'll go over the whole thing again when it's dry, because you get a very different cut. You get a shinier, cleaner cut when the wood has shrunk a little bit more. It'll probably shrink, I don't know, 7-10% something. As it dries, the wood will re-stabilise, and you can often find it'll warp when you do that, especially with a very wet piece of wood like this. Summer cut spoons do tend to warp, and you find sometimes that the warping is the actual indentations, they look much smaller when you come in the next day. You think you've made it smooth, then you come back and look at the spoon the following day, and it's all wrinkly again. It's all kind of all these concave grooves are really prominent. It's because the wood's shrunk. So it's quite a good thing to never to make your final cuts until your wood is dry, because you can adjust quite a lot, and things may change with your spoon overnight. If you let it dry slowly, you can minimise that. So don't bring it into the house with the central heating and so on and so forth. Don't leave it on the sort of dashboard of the car on a hot day. It'll just split. But generally speaking, if it's something stays out in the shed or the workshop, it should dry out slowly. And obviously, if the pith is gone, you always get caught unawares. There's always something that goes to pieces sooner or later. I think most people have had a disaster once or twice in their lives. Some people keep them in a plastic bag. Went in between working on them. Some people put them in the fridge in a plastic bag. Some people put them in paper bags. Just want this to be nice. So you've got to be careful. It's starting to. This is quite. That's reasonably thin there now. So I'm just having a good feel to see what I can take out and what I should leave. I should leave that really now. I mean, I wouldn't want it to be much thinner. So I'm just going to skirt around the edges here, and this, I can take the pencil line off there now.
You've had that skort for quite a few years, huh?
Yeah, I mean this is actually the one. This is not the one, but I've had them all for. Oh God, it's got to be. I don't know, 5 or 6 years, I suppose. Yeah, had them for ages and ages, and they absolutely stand the test of time. I have never had a problem with any of them. I lent one to a friend, and he caught the edge of it on a very hard piece of wood that he was carving, and he's given it some welly, and he put a tiny little chip right here, somewhere like this. But Lee was very good about it, bless him, and got it back to good condition for me in next to no time. Yeah, they're great. They're a great tool. I think they're worth it. Some people don't, but I think they are. And I've not tried many others. I don't know what's on the market nowadays. I'm just loyal to my brand, So that's the bowl just about roughed out. it is. Quite swift, really. And yeah, and I will leave that overnight and then come back in tomorrow and have another look at it. That can come down like that. Just gently get that in.
So Jill, as you've kind of explained before, obviously the finishing cuts, you will come back tomorrow.
Yeah.
And typically you would take a lot of time to kind of finish it off, clean it off, refine it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Just to kind of wrap up then, I wanted to talk about two topics, drying and oiling. So drying first, you talked about it a little bit just before.
Yeah.
But what are your kind of processes for drying the spoon?
I like them to be completely dry before I do the finishing cuts. So at this time of year, which is November, I would just leave this in here to dry out for a couple of days until it's really crisp, and you can feel the weight of it. They get lighter and lighter, you know, as they dry. You can put them in the microwave if you're in a terrible hurry, but literally for 10 seconds at a time, take it out and have a look at it. I wouldn't recommend putting a wet spoon in the oven, although I'm sure some people get away with it. I just think the oven would dry it so rapidly for a length of time that you would lose the bark. And I think it's a bit more important when you've got a bark on spoon that you dry it very slowly. So I would put this maybe in a paper bag for tonight. I mean, I can feel it's damp and it's warm from where I've been holding it. So that in itself will be you know, if you could see this, you know, the vapours coming out of it, you could feel that happening as it dries. So in here overnight in a brown paper bag, I would leave that maybe for 2 or 3 days, and then come back and thin this and trim the back a bit narrower and make sure the cuts are all, you know, tidied up. This is just the roughing out. But this one, here's one I made earlier, and this is weeks old now, and I think I've probably oiled it already, but it's light, you know, much lighter than, I know it's smaller than that one, but it's dry, and the bark hasn't come off yet. So that's going to be, because it's dry, that's job done. You know, I haven't got to worry about anything happening to this spoon. So I'm just going to oil it. I've got a little tray of just with a little blob of tung oil in it, and it's just quite simple. You just rub it all over. You don't need a lot. If you put it on too thickly, you get a shiny effect, which not everybody wants. And I think it will wash off if you used it a lot and washed it in hot water and soap. You know, this would come off. You can re-oil bowls and things periodically, and spoons from time to time.
And you put the oil on the bark as well?
Yeah, I'm going to put it all over everything. Yeah. I think it just helps preserve it and makes it waterproof to a greater or lesser degree. And just rub it in. It's organic tung oil, so it's not, and that's tung, T-U-N-G. It's a fast drying oil, which is one of its great advantages. But it is a little bit shiny. It doesn't colour up too much either. Some of them are yellow. You know, some of the oils. Walnut oil is very good, but people worry about it with people with nut allergies. And what I do then is just remove the excess, so that it's not glossy. And you can see it catching the light. You know, it's got a nice finish on it now, and that will help it on its way. I always, after I've eaten with them, I just give them a rinse immediately, put it back on the rack.
So there you have it, my friends. That is a wrap for this video. Jill, thank you so much.
Oh, it's a pleasure, Zed. It's
so,
always a pleasure.
Let's do a recap. This video, as we mentioned at the very beginning, was designed to show you more the process of leaving the bark on the spoon, no matter what style of spoon that you carve. So hopefully just like I mentioned at the beginning, this was a process I've seen for myself for the first time. So I picked up a lot of good tips and tricks about different things to try out. And obviously the goal now is obviously to go out and play around with it, okay? Especially at the time of the year this video is going out, obviously this is the prime time, I guess.
Yeah, you got probably until February,
right,
March, when the leaves start to bud. That's when the water starts really flowing through the trees. So yeah, you want to do it in the winter months.
Perfect. So a couple of things to mention, guys. As I've mentioned already at the beginning, what I'm going to do, I'm going to put a link down below to Jill's website. On their website, you can find out a lot more about what Jill is up to. She teaches a lot of courses. She teaches up and down the country. She also teaches in little groups as well as one-to-one here at her abode in Canterbury. And what I'm going to do is put a link below to the website. On that website, you can find out a lot more information. If you have any questions, then feel free to contact her. Also, what I'm going to do, I'm going to put a second set of links below to her Instagram and Facebook.
Yes.
And she's very active, posts on a regular basis, and obviously on there you can see the myriad of things that she gets up to, and obviously that's a great way of also getting in touch with her as well, should you have any questions. The final thing I will mention, you've probably seen a little teaser behind Jill, is a sign saying Spoontown. Now, briefly touching on Spoontown, I know what it is, but just to allude the viewers to what that is, what is Spoontown?
It's a festival worshipping the wooden spoon and bowls and other green woodwork activities, and it's the first one in Kent that I'm putting on. I'm hosting down in Paddlesworth near Folkestone, and I've managed to arrange. Well, I was approached to arrange a campsite with a chap, and we're gonna have our first spoon festival.
It's for the south of England, actually.
Yeah.
First large spoon gathering.
Yeah.
We are quite blessed in the UK. We have a lot of localised gatherings. But in terms of the south of England, you have the largest spoon gathering. This is it.
Yeah.
This is going to be it.
Hopefully, yeah.
Yeah.
Fingers crossed.
Fingers crossed, that's it. You know, we don't get some deadly zombie virus.
Yeah.
So stalking through.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I'm going to be attending myself as well. Now, details are still kind of being sorted out in terms of the minutiae, or very, the specifics of kind of like the timing, dates, etc., etc. In order to be kept up to date at the time of putting this video out of Spoontown and all the details that go with it, what I'm going to recommend you do is obviously follow Jill on her social media, and Jill, as soon as in the coming weeks all the details are ready and the website is ready, she'll be making a formal announcement. I'll be announcing it as well across my own social media. So the best thing to do is follow Jill on her social media, and as soon as all the details are out, then obviously you'll be able to find out a lot more, as well as the potential to actually attend Spoontown in person. If by the time you're watching this video the details are already out, then what I'm going to do is going to put a link below to the main website, and on there you can find out a lot more information about when it is, where it is, and everything that's going on over the weekend of the main event itself. Something I'm really looking forward to.
Yeah,
actually.
It should be good.
Yeah, there's a lot of great people coming, a lot of kind of mutual friends, and yeah, it's going to be a great laugh.
Yeah.
It's going to be a good time. So, like I said, guys, a recap. Timestamp below of all the sections in the video, as well as a timestamp in the description as well, and also links to Jill's website as well as social media. Mean the world to me. It's kind of our way of saying thank you. To pop along to her social media, give her a follow. And the final thing I will end off on is, if you do give it a go, we really encourage you to give it a go, what Jill's shown you today in whatever it is that you're going to be carving, then it'll mean the world to me for you to tag Jill. Let Jill know that, hey, look, I've given this a go. It's great, to this day, literally every single day, I will get tags on social media from people that have emulated something in the videos,
Right.
And it's really nice to see all these years later, I know people still cite your videos that we done 5-6 years ago.
Yeah.
So if you do give this a go, it means the world to me to kind of tag Jill in your social media, as well as myself, and for us to see kind of, you giving this a go, regardless of what level you're at, a complete newbie, all the way to a seasoned professional. So are there any last parting words from yourself?
Just keep carving.
That's it.
Get out there and get those trees down.
That's it. I want to end up by saying I've got a jumper envy. You know,
Oh yes.
seriously, I don't have any like cool looking jumpers, right? So I've got like Berghaus fleeces and that's about it.
Right. Oh, you need a woolly jumper.
That's it. I need to up my woolly jumper again.
Yeah.
I noticed a lot of the pro spoon carvers I know, they've got serious jumper game.
Yeah. You've got to have jumper.
That's it.
Fleeces are.
No, that's an amateur level. That seriously, woolly jumper. But you need more holes in the woolly jumper.
Well, this is new.
Is it what it is?
Yeah. It's only a month old. This one.
See, look, this is where I feel a bit let down. Like prior to the video, you should have got a lighter and just like
Yeah, I should have stabbed it.
Stabbed it a few times.
Yeah, I
like.
probably have actually, just making that spoon. I do with most of my clothes. Most of my clothes, trousers are all
The
ripped.
official attire for a professional spoon carver. We need a separate video just on that. So, Jill, sincere thank you once again for having me down.
Darling, it's
for the day.
lovely. It's always lovely
a
to
pleasure.
see you, Zed.
Yeah, likewise. And guys, I really do hope you enjoyed this video. A sincere thank you as always for watching. And as always, I hope whatever you're doing, you have a blessed day, a blessed week ahead. From Jules, Swan and myself, Zed Outdoors, peace out.